Hi everybody, Professor Gustin here, and we're in week 2. And this video is for the week 2 materials, week 2 part 1 and week 2 part 2. As far as week 1 went, I think things are going pretty well. I noticed on Tuesday, the first day of class, a lot of people got a lot of the work done. So it looks like you guys were kind of enthusiastic about this. I've communicated with a few people by emails, and don't ever hesitate to contact me by email. I check my email many times during the day. I am fully aware that you guys could be working on this at any time, and I want to be able to give a response to you very quickly. So don't hesitate to contact me by email and let me know if you're having issues, or you just want to talk, or you want to know something about what's going on, or anything like that. I'm glad to work with you. So, week 1 materials, I don't know at what point you're looking at this video, but the day after week 1, so let's see, we're talking about Monday of week 2, I'll be making sure I get all the grading done and get that into your lab Brightspace grade sheet. Then what I do is I download those grades and I put your total grade so far for lab. So I'll put your week 1 lab grade in your lecture Brightspace grade sheet. Okay, so I'll take your total grade from lab after week 1 and put it into the grade sheet for lecture. And that way you can see your entire course grade when you look at the total. I'll be doing that each week. So at the end of week 2, it will be updated. Your lab grades will be rolled into your lecture grades. So through the whole 5-week semester, you're going to know how you're doing in the entire course. But if you have any problems with the grades in lab, let me know, and I'll, I can work with you on that. Let's see. Remember that sometimes there's things that I have to grade before you get the total grade. For example, in the first lab quiz, I asked you some personal information and I have to add those points in by hand. Brightspace doesn't do that. So I will do that after the due date. So again, the due date for the end of week 2 is Sunday. I'll make sure all those grades are updated on Monday. Let's see, what else am I trying to remind you? Lab, it can really help with all the extra points that we get, because you know that just by finishing the virtual labs and those lab assignments, kind of those adaptive learning assignments, just by completing those, you get 100%. So please make sure that you stay on track, that you get those done on time so you don't lose any points. Those can really help you out if you get a low test grade. And it's the course, I keep that in mind, that, yeah, it's kind of hard. The lab practicals and the tests can be really hard in an online course first of all, we're going fast, so a summer course, but also you don't have a lot of time to talk to people about it. So definitely don't miss those kind of freebie points that you're getting by doing virtual labs and things. Let's see. So what are we going to do in week number 2? And it's going to look somewhat like week number 3. Here's the intro video that I'll put. The video will be there. And then there's a bunch of virtual labs. You want to go back to your lab handout. Remember we had the lab book that I asked you to print the entire book. So look for lab number 2, or I'm sorry, week 2 part 1, but it's called lab number 3. Look for lab number 3 and start doing it. And you're going to see the lab assignments, virtual labs. You'll see all of these in there. So complete all those. I put the links right here in case you want to use those. And, once you go into one link, you're into Connect, and you can access all these materials after the start date. And then when you've completed your lab handout, look over the material, make sure everything makes sense to you, and then you can take the lab quiz. And remember, the lab quiz is a lot of the questions on there are questions that you should be able to answer after having answered the lab handout. On your version of the Brightspace page. Remember, you have little boxes here instead of these funny looking check things. And you can click those off when you get something done. So that's a way to keep track. Another thing to keep track of, and some students have asked me, is, oh, how do I see what I got wrong on the lab quiz? And for all of your, any Brightspace lab quizzes or lab practical, or even in lecture, for your lecture quizzes and tests, what you can do is you can see what you got wrong, and all you do is you go to your grades, and that will get you to your grades, and you'll see that I think you click on the name of the quiz that you want to see what you got wrong. For lab, you can't see that until after the due date. So just go to the grade sheet, click on the item that you want to see what you got wrong, and you can see that after the due date. So this week you're going to do that lab 2 or week 2 part 1, and then we're going to go to week 2 part 2, and you'll see there it is, and we're going to be doing lab 4, which is also part of, you'll find that in your lab book. And so you're just going to go down through that too. You're going to do the lab assignments, you're going to do these virtual labs, follow through the lab handout, and you're going to do the lab quiz. Next week, in week 3, we have our lab practical. And the first lab practical, I only have 2, but the first one can be confusing because it's like, what the heck is going to be on there? You want to make sure that all of your lab handouts, all the labs, 1, 2, 3, 4, that you'll be doing weeks 1 and 2, are completely filled out. And you're going to study that lab handout. You're going to learn the names of the parts of the microscope, how to calculate magnification. You might look at, there's some tools, names of tools. What are those? In the virtual labs, here's talking about gram staining. And there were some pictures. I guarantee you on the lab practical, there's going to be a picture of some bacteria microscopically in color, and you're going to have to tell me whether they're gram positive or gram negative. You're going to tell me what shape they are. So look at all the things that I've asked you to do in the lab handout, and you're going to see a lot of those kinds of questions on the lab practical next week. I'll give you a few more pointers on the lab practical in the introduction video for week 3. Meanwhile, for the lab practicals, these are the only things in lab that I'm asking you to use the Respondus lockdown browser. And so by the time you do this in lab, you will have already used it in lecture. But in case you want more information, there's a little introduction to Respondus. If you want to watch that, you do not have to. And then here's a practice quiz. If you want to make sure your computer's working and you can use Respondus, you can do this practice quiz. I would imagine Professor Pindell gave you a practice quiz in lecture also. You don't get any points for doing this practice quiz. It's just for you to confirm that your computer's working, that you can use Respondus. So, and you can come back to this quiz as many times as you want and redo it this semester. So you might want to practice Respondus and get through the week. And I guess I'm just going to say good luck, and please reach out if there's anything that I can do to make this experience go more smoothly for you. Take care.